This is our group. Okay, it's a small group. We had to be 12 apostles of AI. Then I think at the end we were 18 because we're very friendly. And the person in the middle had to be here today, Paolo. Unfortunately, too many commitments. And Paolo was chairing the committee, so he's the expert on ethics at the Vatican. The person behind is Cardinal Mauro Gambetti, who is the cardinal in charge of St. Peter, which is an important part. And he's the person that organized the event. It was like a small conclave. So they actually locked me, Alex, and the others inside the Vatican for a couple days until we came out with a document. Okay? Yes. And I want to say this, because me and Alex, we went there to make sure, said we need to go so that we make sure the Vatican does not have access to AI. And then after 2 hours, we were doing evangelization for the Vatican more than anyone. And in fact, you should all read the encyclical because it's a beautiful document, please. So after a few days, we came out with this document that I really would like you to check. It's called, in the website, is coexistence.global. The first day it was published, was signed about 3 Nobel Prizes. And it's about the things, the red line of AI, what we feel AI should never be able to do. And let me just mention 2 things. Number 1 is that AI should never have the right to decide for the life and death of a person. And this was not obvious at all. As of today, about 70% of the people, the military personnel that die in Ukraine are dying because of an autonomous drone. So it's not something that we're saying because we're creating a legislation. We're saying we should think about these things. Do the Ukrainian people have the right to protect themselves? Surely yes. What we should do long term is something a little different. We should try to think about how AI is getting into those decisions, at least not think a lot on this topic. The other one is massive surveillance, which is a topic that is happening more and more. There is 8 more points. Check the document. I think it was a good work because at the end on the encyclical, that was September 12th, and then the encyclical was distributed last month, a month ago exactly, and it was a very deep document with a lot of work, but 10 out of 10 of those points were actually discussed in the encyclical. So I think at least what we wanted to do, some little influence, I think that happened in a small. So please check the document, check the encyclical, because there is a part of Alex inside. Okay, and obviously, if you read the first line, it makes immediately a reference to the Tower of Babel. And I want to let you know that me and Alex didn't hack the system to write it, okay? It came as it's magic. And I'll give the word to Father Andrea, which from the Academy of Life in the Vatican has been helping us a lot in this process.
Thank you. Every meeting, someone asks, why the Vatican on artificial intelligence? Okay, yes, because we are trying to spend our life protecting human life and human society. This is the service we can offer. And we understood that digital transformation and AI are really changing and challenging human life. And so if we want to promote and to help human life and human societies, we need to be on this topic. In which way the encyclica, a very long test, please read maybe some numbers, okay? The encyclica produces a way, a method. The main character is Nehemiah. Nehemiah is a person of the Bible. No one knows, but he was the man who built again Jerusalem, okay? And he used a way. I will not be Jerusalem alone, but all together. And he was able to involve all the subjects, elderly people, young people, technicians, philosophers, priests, everybody. And Pope Leo wrote, if we want to really manage and to really work on this, we must do this together. Not only apart, not only the Catholic Church, but together. That's why we are together with the scientists. Please, I would like to introduce the ghostwriter of Pope Leo, and together with the scientists, together with the companies. Yes, we have to do this also with the companies. Otherwise, we have to do this with the other religions and everyone. This is the point, all together. And I think this is very important also because this is a global technology. And this is the same object in the pockets of 6.5 billion people. The same object, the same applications. So it's a global object. No? It's a global object in a time when globalism is down, is not well accepted. So this is a big challenge. If we want to rethink a global society, technology is a good driver, could be a good driver. You have in your hands something very powerful, something very useful. But please, because today, as usual, I learned a lot of things. I'm a philosopher, not a clinician, so I am the second philosopher in the group. Okay, no? Okay, no? And I learned a thing, no? Babel Tower, no? Babel Tower. You are working on translation, but please, if we want to really protect human life, we must not cancel differences. We must not homologize, may all the same. No. No. The devil wants only one language, not God. At the end of Babel Tower novel, God give the people different languages. It's a gift of God. The differences are gift of God, not a problem. So how to manage a global technology that is able to preserve differences? This is the point. But I have one point again, only one more. Yes, of course, all of us are concerned. Common people are feared about what's happening, yes. Today, if you speak with common people about AI, oh wow, maybe that's okay. But I don't think, so I think that if an ethical perspective is produced by fear and concern, is short-lived. We do not need an ethic from fear and concern. We do not need to. I think that if we want an ethical vision, if we want a responsible vision, this can appear from wonder. Oh great, we have produced an incredible object. We have produced an incredible ambience. And so what we want to do with this? In which way we want to produce this? In which way we want to... So that's the point. I'm not happy. Priests became famous, important, no? Okay. We are also always on the stage during an AI debate, always priest, but it's not good, no? Because if you discover a priest because you are fear and concern, this is not good. No. I think we have to work together in reflecting about, oh great, we have a great gift in our hands, and so what we want to do. And this is the first point of Pope Leo. Pope Leo, okay, we have to regulate, we have guardrails, blah, 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 blah. But this is not the true and more important question. Because guardrails without a roadmap are not useful. The real question today, in my opinion, is, okay, great, we have a technology, an incredible technology, where we want to go. What's the future we are imagining at the time of artificial intelligence? I think this is the real question. If we have a project and maybe also some guardrails, of course we need some rules, we need some regulation, but this is not the point. The point is what future we are building, what future we want for us and for the next generation. I think that you have in your hands really an incredible power, an incredible tool, an incredible responsibility too. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Father Andrea. Again, in our round, many of the members were not Catholic, some were not, all kinds of different views. But the main point I thought that everybody appreciated is that this round had a very independent view, because most of AI driven is right now driven by fear of competition, geopolitical, and fear of competition between the companies. And that drives sometimes people in the wrong direction, because we do want to have this technology for positive reasons. And I hope we've given you a little bit of hopeful reasons with this morning's talks. I think they were all wonderful, because they were all with a human in the middle, and I think that's where the technology can really do wonderful things. So I think this round was fantastic. I think it started something going, which is human and not necessarily companies and countries. And I think this will be much appreciated if it continues in the future. So thank you very much. So again, Father Andrea, for leading this discussion and organizing these meetings. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you again.
So with this, let us go to the exploration panel. This is another weird thing. Why exploration? And so I invited a couple of wonderful, have a seat here, colleagues and friends to talk a little bit about their exploration. So once again, I'm reminded of Farnham's comment about making it reasonable to do these experiments at the Titanic. And indeed, one of my classmates, Barbara Schmidt, where's Barbara? There, she listened to my earlier talks on Titanic. For those of you who don't know, I was in the submarine that went to the Titanic, that 2 dives later imploded and killed everybody, right? So we were 2 dives before that in there, and we were doing a speech recognition experiment to communicate text to the surface, because underwater you cannot radio transmit. And so we converted into text and put it to the surface, and there we converted it back into video. Now, Barbara Schmidt, who was never at a loss for uncomfortable comments, you stood up and said, so you could have done this in a swimming pool. Touché. So there is some other elements, of course, which is exploration. And so I want to invite all my friends here to comment a little bit. I have a few stories. And so the first question I wanted to ask all my explorer friends, please tell us your scariest story. And maybe we start with Marco. Marco is not only CEO of a great translation company and an entrepreneur par excellence, but he participated in a regatta that sailed a sailboat around the world like Christopher Columbus, without GPS, without radio, without anything. And he made it sound reasonable too, so.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, no slides, no need. So first I can talk about my real job, okay? Because first it looked like I run a translation company, then I look like I'm a Vaticanist, spending time with the Pope. But my real job is I'm a sailor, and a very strange one. You know, in 2024 I was named in Italy Sailor of the Year, and I won the Fabio Gallia Trophy and the Spirit of the Ocean Globe Race Trophy. The 2 most important trophies worldwide for courage, bravery at sea, etc. With one little problem. I never sailed a boat before starting the around the world race. And so this is, I think, is the reason why Alex wanted me to share this, because I think here we're celebrating careers. We're celebrating many years of work, but we should never forget how we all started. We all started by taking a little challenge that was a little bigger than what we thought was possible for us. And if we're here today, all of us, is that because we all did the little step. So if you ask me what my biggest fear here is that, you know, going there, and I said, you know, I see this around the world race. It was the 50th anniversary of the Whitbread around the world race. In that race, 3 people died in the first edition in '73. And I never sailed on a boat, and I didn't even have a friend with a sailboat, okay? And as stupid as we are at the beginning, you know, adventurers, you're naive, and you totally underestimate problems. But you also never give up. And the combination of these two things is very dangerous. So I saw this regatta, I said, look, I want to sail around the world. Then I quickly realized that it was very, very scary, but I already said it, I would do it. And so I keep training for 2 years, and then we sailed around the world. What was my biggest fear is confronting myself on doing something that was a little bigger than what I ever done before. And it was the best adventure of my life. I hope we can have time to say a few days. Absolutely, I cracked the boat, I sink it. What do you want to go to the really scary thing? So you know that the around the world starts in England, Cape Town, South Africa, then it goes to Auckland, New Zealand, and then you have to go around Cape Horn, Patagonia, South of America. That is the worst part in the world, is the Everest of the sea. 10-meter waves, so 30 feet, 16 knots, 100 kilometers per hour. You cannot escape because all the currents, all the winds, it's really a bad point. And we knocked down the boat 4 times. It means we're 10 inside the boat, and the boat goes underwater, the mast goes underwater. And you have these big waves that goes over you. And even if that, you know, when you're getting to the loop, you don't start feeling fear anymore. My fear was before the start. That time was good. And after 4 knockdown, we cracked the boat, and we had to survive. We're sinking, and we basically found the Falkland Islands, 2 days and a half far from Cape Horn, and we managed to reach the Falkland Islands before sinking the boat. And up to that point, I have to say, we were also winning the race with 5 days margin. And so we fixed the boat. And this was big learning, other learning, is that we had this dream for 3 years of preparation, and you're winning. Not only you're the outsider, you know nothing about sailing, etc. You're winning the round world race. It's magic and pure luck, etc. And then you crash it. And I cried for 2 days and a half before reaching the Falkland Islands, because as soon as you touch land, you're disqualified from winning the big prize. And so I cry for 2.5 days. I get out of the boat. I look back and I say, what if I repair this boat, I get to the start of the 4th leg, and we try to win the last one. And as soon as you have a new dream in life, you forget the old dreams, the new dreams looks better than the one before. So what I want to share with you is that doesn't matter how big is the challenge you want to take, don't worry, no one will remember your failures. Everyone will remember the time in the Falkland where you repair the boat, you get to the 4th leg, and you become #1 again.
Thank you, Marco. I think I will turn to Clayton next, because we don't have slides for your thing, but for yours I have some that I've prepared, so it's not so. But Clayton is a wonderful friend. In his daytime job, he's a United Airlines pilot, and he flew over this morning and tried to make it all the way at 6 o'clock in a very valiant way between commercial flights that he had to actually do for his job. And then he got stuck in German Deutsche Bundesbahn, which managed to delay him by 2-3 hours. But here he is without sleep. Amazing. And well, you tell about your amazing career and what scared you.
Well, what scares me? I don't know, Alex, I've flown with you. That's it. Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Clayton Eveland, and like Alex says, I'm a professional pilot. I consider myself to be more of an aviator than a professional pilot, because not only do I fly for the airlines, but I get to fly float planes with people like Alex. I have been an Alaska bush pilot. I started flying on very old aircraft. There were DC-3s and Beech-18s built back in the 30s. I had the opportunity to work with my beautiful wife. We flew all around the South Pacific, going to Midway Atoll, Wake Island, Bikini, and all these amazing places.
That's a big one.
Yes, my wife flies the very big jet, the Boeing 777, doing special missions, which is very challenging, to say the least. During my career, I had an opportunity to work for Pacific Northwest National Laboratories. They were one of the largest labs set up by the U.S. Department of Energy studying atmospheric research. Well, one thing I love about working with academia, you guys have brilliant theories, but somebody has to test a theory at some point in time. So on one particular mission was called BBOP. It was Biomass Burning Observation Project. A gentleman came up with the idea that climate change could be affected by uncontrolled biomass burning, and they thought the aerosols going here would affect us. Well, what is uncontrolled burn? It's a forest fire. So I spent 4 weeks with a team of scientists, 65 instruments in the back of my Gulfstream 1 aircraft, and we would fly out and find a forest fire and fly into it to see what was coming out of the fire. This sounds like a brilliant idea. So we would start off by flying over the base of the fire, and then we would say, hey, what does it look like after 30 minutes of decay rate? And we would come back out of the plume and go back, and we would work our way down until we were exited the fire. Each time we'd mark the highest concentration, so when we got to the end of the plume, we would turn around and come back to the source of the fire. We did this 3 times so that you had an accurate data set. Well, this particular fire was the largest we've encountered yet. On the second pass, we were coming back up to the source of the fire, and something on the ground exploded. No idea what it was, but when it exploded, the shock wave hit the airplane so hard that we came out tail above us, pointing straight down at the ground and exceeding the structural limitations of the aircraft on one maneuver. Luckily, we were able to get the aircraft under control by using our aerodynamic braking and a bunch of choice words here and there. After we got control of the aircraft, I asked the scientists, okay guys, well that was fun, you ready to do the third set? And they went, no, I want to go back now. 3 years later, the lead researcher of the mission, who had to be on the flight, he was given an interview, and they said, what was your scariest moment? He talked about this particular flight, and he said, what got me the most was, I can hear the pilot talking the entire time, and as we got hit by the explosion, all he said was, come on baby, hold together a little bit longer. And he was talking to the airplane the entire time we were tumbling out of control. So that was mine.
Great one. Thank you, Clayton. And I thought the flights through thunderstorms were the worst, but all right. I will take the privilege of telling my story because they are in the slide deck. Oh well, that was not the scariest. I used to do a lot of skydiving. I had one malfunction once. I had to use the reserve. Go ahead. And that was me. And I did this with Bill Walkeney together. Where's Bill? So I have some skydiving friends here. Let's go to the next one. You heard about the incident with the Titanic. We were down on the submarine to the Titanic. Next. This is here where we did our speech recognition experiment, the one that could have been done in the swimming pool. But it was much cooler at the Titanic. Next. We saw the Titanic. This is the boiler room of the Titanic. Next. And this is the thing. My lovely wife, Naomi, where is she? Somewhere. She said, oh, this is where Leonardo DiCaprio stood. Sort of. Okay, next. This is Christian Huber, who manned the reconstruction in video on the surface. Next. And this was our team. Now, this was not the scariest adventure because we didn't know what was going to happen next year. The next year it all imploded and we all would be dead, right? So had I known this, I would be scared shitless. But at the time we had a jolly good time and we saw the Titanic and came back and our experiment worked fine and so on. So let's go to the scariest stories. Next slide. Next. So this was a world tour I did with my helicopter, and this is the Asian part of the tour. Next. This is going all the way from Bangkok, Hong Kong, Philippines, Borneo, all the way to Irian Jaya in Indonesia and down to Australia and eventually New Zealand. Next. So we did have some incidents and so on. I don't have time for this in Palangkaraya. Next. Oh yeah, I guess what I wanted to say on that one is one of the things that's scary is flying over a long time over the water, right? Because if you lose an engine, you're kind of screwed, right? Because when you fly a helicopter, one of the nice things about helicopters, you can land anywhere. You could land out there in the field and so forth, no problem, right? But over water, you run into water problems over water, you're just in deep shit, basically. And and of course, you don't want to do your route in such a way that if you run into bad weather, you don't have enough fuel to come back anymore. So I planned all my routes in such a way that I would have at least half a tank full by the time I arrive on the other end. So if I run into bad weather, I could turn right back and land again, because otherwise it'd be a deep shit. So that said, we planned all this and it worked out fine. And then we got to this place here. Next slide. Next. So I knew some NGOs who were helping people in the mountains, doing healthcare in a really jungle area. Wamena is a place up in the mountain where you can only go by airplane. There's no roads, no water, no nothing. The only way you can go there is by airplanes or helicopters. And they operated helicopters there to go into the jungle to help people save their life. And so I flew from Timika, which was amazing because Timika, it's in the middle of the jungle, but they had a Sheraton with a great wine list. And so, well, what the heck is going on? Well, Timika turns out is a gold mine from American Gold Mine. So they had very posh accommodations. But as soon as you left Timika, you were on your own and no communication and you're in the jungle. So I fly up, jolly good show, up to Wamena. Let's see the next one. So this is what it looks like. You can only fly up this canyon. It's quite rugged terrain. This is just only native people there. Next. So you can maybe click a little bit of the video. So this is me flying along there, and if you could hear the sound, it has, I just played my rock and roll. It was really wonderful, you know, to kind of go up to the jungle in rock and roll music. I don't know if you can turn that on up there, but if you can, it's okay. So to shorten that, I would just fly along, take pictures. It was beautiful countryside, taking pictures here, one hand with the other, fly the helicopter and so on. And then next. Then I finally landed in Wamena, next. And I had a chance to go with these NGOs into the jungle and helping. This was a guy who had leprosy, and yes, leprosy, but it's treatable today. So we flew in and airlifted him out. And his brother, they never make contact to these foreigners and Westerners, and so they called him only in because the guy was dying, and so they dared coming out of the bush to bring their brother into this outpost. And we had a chance to fly him up and saved his life, really, because he was then treated at the hospital and everything ended okay. Next. So, well, these are kind of funny pictures. The garments that people wear up there are a bit unusual. The nurses say they have trouble putting seatbelts on this fellow. As you can imagine, I will not belabor. So these garments, I bought a few on the right as a pitot heat cover. For those of you who are pilots, you know what a pitot heat cover is. But as we continue later, the Australian custom took them away because they were made out of banana bark and you can't bring them into Australia. Anyway, next story. So here we're doing checkup before my return out of the mountain location. Next. And this is where it got actually scary, probably my scariest flight. Because the weather is very iffy up there. It's very treacherous. It can change any time. And I started flying away. Next slide. And as you can see, the weather really turned badly on me. And you go down in this canyon, and now turning around was not an option because you fly into mountains. And if you can't see the mountains, you're cooked. And going forward was also tricky because I was flying here in between trees in a canyon, and the clouds came lower and lower. I don't know if you click on it, you'll see a little bit. Okay. Now I had called my destination in Merauke beforehand and said, okay, it's beautiful weather, they told me, and there's no wonderful weather service you can call beforehand to see what your weather en route is. You only can call the next destination, say, what's your weather like? Oh, beautiful sky, come on down. And this is what I then encountered, and it was pretty nasty. So now what to do? Because I couldn't turn back, because I would fly into the mountain. Forward, I would have spent all my fuel here. I couldn't clearly not land because it was basically swampland below and trees everywhere. So no place to land, no place to turn around, no visibility to go forward. So I did something that's strictly speaking illegal with a visual flight rule only helicopter to go on instruments. Now I have on airplanes an instrument rating, so I just gave full power and said, let's go and fly instrument. If, you know, my life is at stake at this point, screw the regulations, I'm gonna do it anyway. And as long as you fly fast forward, you can fly an instrument with a helicopter. You cannot hover in visibility because it's very unstable. So you couldn't land in no visibility. That's why this was all not an option. So I gave full power and I said, well, I'll just climb and eventually I'll pop out of the clouds. And once I see above, then I can fly until I can land where the weather is good. I knew the weather was good on the other side. So I go up and next slide maybe. So it's what it's like. You go up and up and up and up, and it's 4,000 feet, 6,000 feet, 7,000. Must be popping out any moment. 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, and now I'm at the edge of where you need oxygen actually, and I still don't see anything because I'm in the clouds. So at 10,500 feet, I pop out of the clouds and I get this view. I was breathing a sign of relief because I was really running out of options at this point, and then flew along and along and then hoping that they were true about the good weather on the other side. And then sure enough, halfway between the flight, this was incredible. I turned off my camera because I didn't want to make a video of my demise. So that's why I can't show you this. But it was just the most incredible picture. Suddenly the clouds stopped. It was like a huge wall of clouds going all the way to the ground. And now you can see the holes. If you have holes in the clouds like that, with a helicopter you can circle down there and land anywhere, and I knew I was safe. And then we landed safely next. And I say we, it's just me. But then on the other side in Merauke, one of my heli buddies joined me, and this is here that I'm now flying to Australia. I wished we had the music because we were having a good time because we were crossing into Australia. And as soon as we uncrossed, can we get the sound? No? Okay, never mind. So we crossed into Australia, and just to demonstrate that we came across the border, I just shake the stick to make it sound like we are crossing the border. There you go. And everything was fine. They took my stuff away in Australian customs, but the rest was really all wonderful then. Okay, that was my scariest helicopter story. We can click through the rest of it because next we will go to Scott Hourin. Oh yeah, these are my pitoteep covers that were taken away by Australian customs. Scott, you can, oh sorry, this is also scary, my family. Let's go next. This is my daughter and my sons. Having fun. Let's go to the next. Next. Yeah, here. Scott. Doesn't have to be scary.
What are we talking about? This is sort of my routine, I think, at these things. I've been to 2 Interact conferences, and I talk about Cobra Gold every time. I guess Alex liked Cobra Gold. It was, and I missed the times of the period of my life that we did this a lot. So exercise Cobra Gold, I'll try to be quick with this, is a large-scale multinational training exercise in Thailand. It's primarily between the US and the Thai military, but there's lots of other militaries that participate in it. And it's mostly about what you would think military training. They go shoot guns and cannons and fly airplanes and drop bombs and stuff places. But there's also what's called the humanitarian civic action thread to the military, to the exercise. And within that, they do these events called Medical Civic Action Program, Engineering Civic Action Program, Dental Civic Action Program. Can anybody guess what those would be in military speak? MedCap, NCAP, DENCAP. What we did was take some of the translation technologies out to the MedCap and the DENCAP aspect, the medical and dental programs, to do both testing and data collection. So somebody was talking about data collection earlier. You needed data from a messy place where we did recordings on a table, probably 10 feet from something like that, with roosters crowing and little kids crying and everything else going on. Yeah, there you go. There were some of these times where the technology just kind of didn't work out, and I did this with multiple sort of technologies. I was kind of the shepherd, the tour guide that helped coordinate and bring people like Alex out there. But the most rewarding one was the translation, because there were times where there just weren't interpreters available, or the interpreter didn't have the vocabulary, the medical vocabulary, to really understand what the medical personnel were trying to get accomplished. And so having the technology there as an augmentation, not a replacement, was sometimes pretty critical. Sometimes it didn't do what we wanted it to, but back to that human in the loop aspect, or human on the loop, however you want to look at it. And somebody earlier was talking about the line. You don't have to get all the way to the line, you just have to get to good enough. It's a different line with technology, and it's different with every situation. I mean, that may have worked fine with one patient and whatever their issue was, but then the next patient came up and it wasn't ever going to work, right? So managing that expectation at the edge is also critical when you're bringing these new technologies to bear in whatever environment that it is. A lot of teeth get pulled, and it is not pleasant to watch. Microphone for that. But the funny thing about these, I think it's funny, if we had the picture after that happened, and the woman sat up, and you saw her face, she would be smiling. Somebody just literally yanked a tooth out of her head with pliers, and she would sit up and smile because she knew she wasn't going to die from that tooth. And that's the sort of thing that these largely military. There's also some civilian medical professionals that participate in these, but that's the kind of difference that it makes. And having the translation technology at these sometimes was pretty critical for the doctors to be able to understand what was going on, and sometimes make a determination that they actually need to medevac somebody or don't need to medevac somebody, which is just as critical to decide, because you take a resource away if you send somebody in a van or in an ambulance when they don't have to be. And there's some silly Marines with... Sorry? Was there a Cobra at that one? Oh, is that what he's holding? Cobra? They're all over there. So, yeah, any other aspects that... There's an oldie. Yeah, Matthias was there with us. So as I was kind of preparing for this while we're scrolling through, I thought back on where I first met Alex and Matthias, and Hourin, and some of the other folks who were involved in this. It was a DARPA program, 20 years ago, 21 maybe years ago. And it made me think about the Heilmeyer Catechism and I don't know all the rules. I know 2 rules of that one. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about, but it's a sort of a framework that DARPA uses to analyze whether or not they're going to tackle a problem. The first rule is explain what you want to do with no jargon. And I remember that one because I'm terrible at it. Half of my vocabulary is jargon and acronyms, and I'll apologize up front. But the fourth one is who cares? And what are you going to change if you succeed? So what is the value of doing this thing that you're talking about doing? And if it's DARPA, they're talking about doing hard things and expending a lot of resources to do it. And I always come back to that with things like this, like who cares and what is the value? And we got a lot of darts thrown at us for bringing these pretty raw technologies to the field, but the real near-term value and potential mid to far-term value was just so powerful that we had to do it. So this was a great time. I love the way she's looking up at the camera in that one. I was just looking at that picture the other day. Yeah, we did this a couple times in Thailand. I did a bunch of other ones in Thailand, and once in Cambodia, twice. Matthias, once or twice in Cambodia? Once? I don't know. I lose track of who came with me on these things. Once, you all didn't go on the Mercy, did you? No. Once a month on the Mercy, 3 months on the Mercy. The Mercy came to Cambodia that time, yeah, okay. So, and they were my favorite crew to take out on these because you get up at 4 in the morning, you drive for 2 or 3 hours through the mountains, an uncomfortable van or something that you're riding around in. You spend all day in the heat walking around, and it was this heat, right? All day, every day. Get back in a van, drive 2 hours, go to bed, wake up in the morning, do it all over again for 2 weeks. And they're troopers. There were some people that it was dragging them out of the bed, knocking on the door in the morning to make sure they got up. Never with these guys. They were, Matthias and Alex and crew were always standing there waiting to go, looking for more.
I have to say it was one of the best experiences in my life because I think not only did we have the feeling that we did something good for people, because you could really see how you touch people's lives, but also we learned so much. The first time, like Scott said, we just didn't work at all and we felt like we were always interfering with the doctors doing their thing. And then you learn all the things, that your error rate 2% less, who cares in the jungle, right? What they care more about is the button properly pushed? Is it, they have this loud music playing, how do you deal with the noise? And so many practical things you wind up attacking, and that helped us actually form companies and later transition to Facebook and many other things. So there's keeps it going back to Farnham saying, why is it reasonable? Made a lot of sense to me. Anyway, let's move on. We have actually in the area of space 2 wonderful families here with us. One is Jack Roosa and his daughter Danielle. Where's Danielle? Hi, Danielle. And her husband. They are a distinguished family of astronauts. His father was on Apollo 14, and as I said earlier, the moonwalker in that mission was a Carnegie Mellon graduate. And the president has a signed picture of him on the moon in his office. And so we want to hear your story, your life story, your memories of your distinguished father. And then we'll do the same thing with Mark. This is Mark Armstrong, the son of another distinguished moonwalker, namely the very first one that walked on the moon, Neil Armstrong. And Mark, we're just very honored, both of you, to have you here. And then we'll go immediately into the musical show that will actually recount many of the things of of your amazing stuff, amazing work in space. So I turn the microphone to you, Jack.
And do we have the slides? Okay. What scares me is listening to Marco get in a sailboat and not being a sailor and taking on one of the most difficult sailing challenges that you could possibly take on. So that's impressive. Before I go into my presentation, I've learned 2 important points and I made a conclusion. One is I didn't know it was your birthday, so happy birthday. Secondly, I didn't know he was 29 years old. So my conclusion is you are the smartest 29-year-old on planet Earth. So happy birthday. So like it was mentioned, my name is Jack Roosa. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. My dad was on Apollo 14. He was the command module pilot. As it was stated, the command module pilot orbits the moon. He actually flies the 2 other astronauts to the moon. And then they will move into the lunar excursion module, the LIM, and then they will go down, spend a couple of days on the lunar surface. And in this case, the command module pilot, my father, circled the moon by himself. There's been 12 people that walked on the moon, your dad included. There's only been 6 that have gone solo around the moon, and my dad was in that group. So we try to find something to brag about for the command module pilots. I have the ultimate respect for my dad. He was tough growing up. He grew up in the heart of the Depression, extremely poor, but he gave me a lot of life lessons that I incorporated into my career, and I'll talk a little bit about my career. And then I really struggled last night when he said, tell me something that scares you. And it's because of my military background and all the training that I went through. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is a shot taken just for a combat mission over Iraq. I did 80 of those combat missions, spent 20 years in the Air Force flying F-16s. Absolute best job in the world. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I wouldn't say there was much that scared me because you're so well trained. I was talking to the folks at the table earlier today is you go through repetitive training all the time. You practice all the what ifs. If this goes wrong, this is what I'm gonna do. And so when you talk about scared, I translate that into risk, and then you go into what we call risk management. And so you'll take all those risks, you'll go through them, you'll say, okay, if this occurs, what is our out option? And you do that for most of your risks. You can't mitigate all risk, but at least you can manage the unknowns the best you can. So that's me several years ago, just prior to a combat mission. We're all geared up there, carrying our gear in case we got shot down and so forth. Next slide. The photo on the right is me in an F-16 doing a test. I think somebody mentioned it earlier. You don't want to ever let down the team or embarrass yourself. So maybe that could be a little bit scary. You never want to be the guy that screws it up. And so that's a 2,000-pound bomb. It was the first one dropped off in F-16. We're doing some tests in Utah. And I guess maybe I was a little bit scared because I didn't want to be the first guy to screw that one up. So really, the one on the left is probably the only time I consider myself scared. And that is Danielle going out of a airplane. When Danielle was 12 years old, she said, hey, Dad, I want to go skydive. And I said, when you're 18, I would take you skydiving. Nothing was said for the next 6 years. The day she turned 18, she walked in and she said, Dad, we're going skydiving. And so we were in Florida. We walked up, or we drove up to the skydiving place. We go up to 14,000 feet. She was cool, calm, collected. I was cool, calm, collected, until she goes out the door. And I'm looking over the edge, looking at her. Now she's tandem, and there's a photographer with her. And I said, holy cow, what have I done? If that chute doesn't work, it's gonna be tough. So that's probably the only time that I really felt scared inside. So, right, it's your family. And maybe for the parents out there, you know that. One of the scariest things you can do is raise kids. So, Anyway, just thought I would share those stories. I don't have much else to say at this point. I know we're behind time and it's hot in here. So you want me to pass it over to Mark? All right.
So you're going to hear a lot from me over the next couple of hours. And I think we're just going to go straight to playing some rock and roll music because it's what Alex likes and it's his birthday. So we're going to do what he likes. If that's okay with everybody, we'll get right on it. All right, I'm going to bring the band up and we'll get going.
Just want to say how honored I feel that both of you guys are here. I mean, it was my heroes in my youth, the Apollo program, and having you both here is fantastic. And having you make the music is what an honor. Thanks so much, Mark. Go for it.